Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the season premiere of season 3 of Stargirl. The episode was called Chapter 1 because for some reason they don't come up with names for these episodes. But anyway, as it begins, we hear a voiceover that's urging us to settle in and get ready to hear a tale of a murder. Then, as Neil Diamond's Coming to America plays, we're treated to various scenes of the citizens of the town going about their everyday business. Beth is greeted to a very upbeat breakfast in bed from her parents, during which she gets a text from, I guess, Courtney. Meanwhile, our man seems to be doing something in the woods with a shovel, which I suspect was burying Solomon Grundy, like, again. And it would seem that a call is being sent out via group text to the JSA, as we see Black Cat get a message, as did Beth and our man earlier, as we also see Black Cat watch the previously evil Cindy helping an old lady with her groceries, which is pretty cool. At Stargirl's house, as the family is arriving home from camp or something, they find Sylvester, aka Starman, tidying up the house as he walks past a bunch of newspaper headlines about how Stargirl recently performed various rescues and saves. And it seems that he has fixed the kitchen, which was badly broken apart last season. Apparently, he is back now because he woke up in his coffin when he came back from the dead with no injuries, seemingly because he felt the bond between himself and the staff sort of reawakening when Courtney made a bond with the staff herself, which I didn't think made a lot of sense, but there you go. After showing Courtney that he's built a new case for the staff, he assures her that he doesn't want it back and that it's hers now and that he's done being Starman. Then the gambler shows up at the house saying he wants to make amends. Turns out that he has a daughter and he wants to try to turn his life around to be a good example to her. And I guess that's because his father abandoned him. And he thinks that's what led him down the wrong path to begin with. I'm dubious about all of this, but we'll see what's happening as the season progresses. The next scene takes place on a different day where Pat comes home to find his neighbor, the Crusher, who I guess they're supposed to trust now is a good guy, in his house and making him juice in a juicer, but only because he wants to know why Pat and Stargirl and the JSA aren't locking up the gambler. Next, we see that apparently Starman isn't the only one back from the dead, as we find the Shade at a diner being visited by the gambler, a bit to the Shade's displeasure. In fact, he tells the gambler that he'd better get out of Dodge before Stargirl and the JSA figure out that he's full of crap, or before he himself does something to him. And when the gambler seems not to be listening, he turns his powers on and again tells him that he'd better go, with his eyes all black and everything. It would seem that Beth's parents are very enthusiastic about her whole superhero thing, to the point of, ad nauseum. And they're even trying to design her a new costume, which she doesn't see the need for. They're kind of hanging all over her and being like her biggest cheer squad, which, is great. But at the same time, it's like, really, you guys are a little over the top here. Next, we see it's a school day, and Courtney convenes a meeting of the JSA, including Cindy, who asked to be in the JSA at the end of last season when she seemed to turn a new leaf, which doesn't sit well with Black Cat and our man, who are very begrudgingly allowing her to sit at the table. I think it's unfortunate that they aren't on board with this, because even though I understand their reasoning, you have to remember that if someone in Cindy's position can go either way, which is kind of what they're saying, well, she could just, she's saying she's good, but maybe she's not, she could still be evil. And so if that's the case, and if they're in a position where it could go either way, and they're like on the brink where they could break good or break bad, why would you want to treat them like shit? Because you're making it, you're just making it more likely that they're going to get discouraged, from trying to break good and just break bad again. And I think that while Cindy needs guidance and tempering, she really does want to do good. And it would be a shame if she just got fed up with them not wanting to give her a chance and just said, "The hell with it, I may as well just be bad." I think that would be unfortunate. Next, we see that Starman is very impressed with Pat's flying robot there, and he wants to check it out. And he says that he's really happy to see that Pat is happy, and he's really thankful for being allowed to stay at their house. And I don't know. I think it's just too good to be true. I think there's something wrong. I think it's like a pet cemetery situation, like where the pets come back from the dead and they kind of seem normal, but then you find out there's something wrong, like they're not right. And you know, I don't know. I just hope we're not looking at a situation where, in this case,
that is better.
next we see Artemis's mother visit Stargirl's mom at work and kind of put the gangster lean on her to get Courtney to allow Artemis to join the JSA. And Courtney's mother's like, "Well, okay, but I don't get to decide that. So, it's not up to me." But I think Artemis's mother knows that. She's just letting you know that you better put the word in. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, someone pays the gambler a visit at his trailer, and as he's sitting there trying to figure out how he can find his daughter, but they take off before he can see who they are. And although he had picked up a gun to try to deal with them or to do something else with it, he looks at a picture of his daughter and decides to throw the gun away. Pat and Sylvester take the robot out and fly around with Sylvester, basically flying around behind it using the staff. When they return home, they kind of get scolded for Sylvester taking the staff after telling Courtney that he didn't want it back and all that. But even at that, Courtney is sort of not too hard on them because apparently they saved a plane while they were out there. And then Sylvester gives her the staff back. But he does admit to Courtney that he, in fact, did originally come back to try to get the staff back, but that he doesn't want it back now because he knows that it chose Courtney and he knows that she's the future and he's not. And he says that he will train her with it, though, to teach her some tricks and stuff. Courtney agrees to that, but also suggests that Sylvester should use the staff as Starman while she's at school, before getting a call from Beth that there's trouble, which is apparently some kind of robbery. So the JSA suit up to try to stop it, but when they get there, they find Artemis on the scene single-handedly taking down a handful of bad guys. It was pretty funny, actually. Apparently, these particular bad guys had these $ masks on, and they, I guess, are the No Limit gang that used to hang out with Gambler. After this, when Cindy finds that she's bored with the investigative part of the JSA's work at the garage, she leaves, saying that they should call her when something exciting happens. And Hourman and Black Cat tell Courtney they just can't abide allowing her to allow Cindy into the JSA, and they say they need to just go get the Gambler already, instead of just taking on faith that he's changed and waiting to see what happens and waiting to see whether this gang is connected to him or not. Sylvester tells Pat that he's a little leery of all these supervillains that are suddenly now supposed to have turned new leaves and, find themselves wanting to be contributing citizens. As the Gambler is finishing a letter to his daughter, someone hacks into his computer and gives him access to security cameras all over the town, including one that looks down on his own trailer. As the gang is approaching the Gambler's trailer to ask him if he knows anything about his old gang, they talk about why he should get a second chance, for which Courtney makes the case in the affirmative. And then they hear his gun go off because he retrieved it from the trash earlier to investigate the camera that was focused on his trailer. But when they get there and approach his trailer, they find him dead, and they find Cindy standing over him holding the gun, protesting her innocence. So he saw the cameras, he saw that one was posted on his trailer or pointed at his trailer. He grabbed his gun out of the trash and went outside, and then somebody shot him and he died. And Cindy got there at some point before the JSA as well. Now, it was either immediately after the shooting or she did the shooting, but we don't know because the episode ended and we have to wait till next week to find out. So I thought this was a good episode. It was a good season opener. It set up a bunch of stuff for the coming season. It was good to see Cindy trying to be good. I really like that. I like a redemption story, as we all know. I like the fact that the Shade is back. I think that's a cool character. The actor is excellent, so I'm glad that he's back. But like I said, I'm a little weirded out by the fact that Sylvester's back from the dead. Like, what's going on there? That's going to be a weird thing. But yeah, apparently it is all about a murder mystery, which we were promised in the beginning by the voiceovers. So I guess we will pick up with that story next week. But one thing I want to talk about before I end the video is the fact that we do learn that it was Solomon Grundy that Our Man was burying, and apparently he's been burying him, digging him up, and reburying him in different places to, I guess, try to resurrect him based on what he was told by the Shade last season, but nothing's working. Solomon Grundy's not coming back so far. So we'll have to see what that's about. But yeah, that's the episode and that's the video. I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back next week with a review of episode 2. Until then, I wish you peace and long life.